Before I hang this washing out, I thought I'd let you have my top 5 tips when supermarket shopping, and I've made notes, so you'll have to excuse me looking at my notes. Tip number 1 is actually to know how much you use of a product. For instance, I use one packet, I use fresh coffee and some instant, but mostly I use fresh coffee. And I know I use one packet of coffee a week, 227 grams I think they are, of coffee a week. I know how much toilet roll I use a week. I roughly know how much soap. But things that you use regularly, just get to know how much you use. And the way I did that was every time I opened a new packet, I just marked it on my calendar. So coffee, Monday coffee. And then just saw when I opened another one, and I thought, oh, I'm using a packet every week. Some things you might only open a packet every month, something like that. But if you know how much you're using, then you can then you can see how much you need to buy. And with that in mind, I would also, I've got leave a link in the description below, how to build up a store cupboard, a prepper pantry. So if you have a budget that you stick to, and you know how much of each product you buy, then if you've got enough money spare one week, you might be able to buy an extra bag of coffee. And you think to yourself, well, that's an extra week's worth of coffee. And I try and have a month's supply of regular products that I buy, just in the store cupboard. Who knows these days with the way things are going, are you going to lose your job? Is this bill coming in that you're not expecting? Try and build up a month's supply, but in order to do that, you need to know how much you're using. Tip number 2 is, if you're using the regular supermarkets, well, even the smaller supermarkets now, get a loyalty card or an app, because it seems to be 2 different prices now when you go into these places. If you're just a one-off customer, you're going to be paying more for certain items than if you've got a loyalty card. And if it's a supermarket that you don't regularly go to, but your friend does, could you go shopping with her that day and maybe save some money that way and say, can I use your loyalty card? I'll save some money and you can get the points. So get a loyalty card or an app or whatever, just to try and save some money. Tip number 3 is to switch to own brand products. Most of the major supermarkets have own brand products, and where you'll find those is usually on the bottom shelf. Or you could completely switch from the major supermarkets and go to the discount retailers like Aldi, Lidl, Home Bargains, B&M as well. Lots of places, even your local shops. Don't forget your local shops, because your local shops can have some good offers on. Tip number 4 is, when do they change round? Now this is interesting, because I know from when I go shopping, Tuesdays is, I think I've said on the last couple of videos, I went on a Tuesday, and that's when they change their regular offers in the major supermarkets, and even the discount retailers change their special offers every week, like Aldi Super 6. But if you, like Tuesdays, when they're changing the special offers, they will be putting them on the end of an aisle. And I talked to a lady at Sainsbury's quite regularly, and I was speaking to her last night, and I said, what's happening? And she said, oh, every 4 to 6 weeks, she said, we have a big change round. So if you go shopping and you think, well, where's that porridge gone? Where's this gone? It's because they've had a major shift round, and there's certainly the sort of small-ish stores as opposed to the huge sort of bigger stores. But the smallish stores, when they're having a major switch like that, they will go down the aisles and think, well, we're not going to be stocking that anymore, we won't be using that anymore, we're not selling much of that. So you can go down the aisles, and this is not even on the reductions, you can go down the aisles and for some reason that's not selling, so they start reducing it, and you might go back a week later and they've reduced it even more. That's how I've had some of my better bargains, is just to keep going up and down the aisles. If you've got time, I understand a lot of people don't have the time, but just keep going up and down and just notice if they're having a big switch round, or think to yourself, well, they haven't had a big switch round for a while. And also when they're doing that, they tend to do one aisle at a time. So I noticed at Sainsbury's it was the freezer section and just one part of the freezer section. Then another time it might be the baking section. Another time it might be teas and coffees. Not many reductions on those, but I did see, I think it was PG Tips loose tea, that they'd reduced that and it completely empty because people had seen it. So what was that? That was tip number 4. Tip number 5 is get to know the reductions. And again, I understand that a lot of people don't have time to do what I do and go around and have a look for reductions. So my tip to them is get to know where these aisles are. For instance, when I go to Tesco's, the regular Tesco's that I do go to, you'll find that there's a reduced aisle, a reduced section for the fresh fruit and veg. There'll be a reduced section in the chiller cabinets. There'll be a reduced section for the regular shelves. And sometimes, especially at Morrison's I've seen it, there's even been a reduced section for like damaged packets and things like that in the freezer section. So just get to know where these are. And if you get to know where these are, the ones at the Tesco's that I've been going to, for the longest time, on the fresh fruit and vegetables, the reductions were on the left-hand side. And then I thought, well, where have they gone? And they switched them to the right-hand side. The same with the chiller cabinets. But if you get to know where these reductions are, and if you're in a rush and you've just gone for 5 things and you've been working, I only need 5 things and I haven't got time to look for all the reductions. If on your way to the checkout you know that that aisle, down that aisle and on the end is where they put the reductions, on your way to the checkout, just make it your route. Just make it your route to the checkout. Even if you're going backwards, back down the aisles, just make it your route, that you take it when you go into the checkouts, you just have a quick look at the reductions and see if you can take advantage of that. And also, somebody come in, and also get to know what the reduction stickers look like and what time they do reductions. So again, if you're rushing and you think to yourself, I haven't got time, but I would like to have a quick look at the reductions. Most of the major supermarkets do a reduction around lunchtime, then again around tea time, 4 o'clock, 4:30. But again, that's a bit dependent on staffing and whether they've got enough staff to do the reductions. And the last reductions can be about 7, 7:30. At some of the supermarkets, if you go after that, all the reductions have gone. Even on bread, they've all gone. So that's one thing to take into consideration, if you possibly can, is what time you go shopping. Another thing to take into consideration, especially if you're rushing, is what do the reduced stickers look like? In a lot of places, they are like yellow stickers. I think it's Lidl, they are orange. They do, usually it tells you what it's been and what the reduction is. And at Aldi, the red stickers. And talking about times to have to get things reduced, I've been to an Aldi not so long ago and got some good reductions, knowing that I'm looking for the red stickers. And just out of my eye corner, I thought it was too early, but just out of my eye corner I noticed the red sticker, and I think it was corned beef that I bought, and it was a fresh corned beef sliced, and I think it was 75% off. Now that was at 3:30 in the afternoon, But had I not remembered, in my subconscious mind it must have been that the reductions were red stickers, and I just saw it out of the corner of my eye and I thought, oh, 75% off. So those are my top 5 tips. If you've got any tips, please leave them in the comment section below, and I'll leave a link to my how to start a store cupboard, like prepper pantry. I'll leave a link to that as well, because that explains a little bit more in depth how I built up a month's supply. So I hope that helps, and just get out there and see what you can find. Take care, people.